worship, 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 Crossland, worship, Crossland, yeah. We bow to worship Crossland.
You made that right before we started. I watched it happen. Jason
Yes,
Paige.
I'm live with Crossland right here.
Dude,
on YouTube. Finally.
We talked. What was that? We haven't even talked in like 4 years. I don't think it's just been through text.
Yes. We've been texting as you and I are both independently blowing up in the world of social media, respectively.
I'm so glad you leaned into Pokemon. We were just talking about this before we went live. The first night I met you with David Haverty was like, yo, my buddy Jason's having a party over at his house. We should go. And I was like, kind of like, all right, yeah, let's roll. And we went over and I first met you and you were like, what should I do? I got this Pokemon thing going on. Should I lean into it? And I'm like, you're like, because I don't want to like sell out, but like my artistic integrity is important. I was like, I think you should like lean into it because it's Pokemon.
It's Pokemon. There's only 2 billion fans out there. 100 million of them know who I am, but the rest don't. That's 0.01% of these people who actually finally know who I am. But they know my voice, and I'm embedded in their cells for thousands of hours of time that I have occupied rent-free in their heads.
So this is people that don't know. You sang the original Pokemon theme song. What
Gotta
year?
catch 'em all, Pokemon.
What year did you record that?
That was recorded in 1998.
And you were like 20 something.
I was 28 years old and done tons of jingles at the time. I had done Lego Mania, and oh, it's an itsy bitsy teeny weeny baby Emily. Barbie walks and Emily laughs right away, and do always Coca-Cola. And the quilted quicker picker upper, and be all that you can be, which is not, I'm not very proud of that. That's the army song. It's the army song right there. And when you get nausea, heartburn, indigestion, that stomach. You don't know that one, bro? Come on.
No. Which one's that? Is that Motrin?
Pepto-Bismol.
Nice
Close. But yeah, I've been a session singer, a vocal gymnast, a vocal acrobat, writer, producer of my own music and the music of many others. And Pokemon was one of many sessions I was doing at the time, hundreds every year.
Did you know what it was when you walked into the audition?
We know that it was something. We had to talk about it, about the episode that aired in Japan. Flashing lights caused a mass epileptic seizure among kids that had the condition who were watching it. And then the news reported on the seizures and played the same footage during the news segment. It caused another round of seizures. That was what we discussed in the first couple of, that's really what anybody knew about it. It was a Japanese TV show. We saw the Japanese version with the sound down so we could kind of catch a vibe of what it was visually. And then they wrote a song that was based on the brief and what Pokemon wanted, and I sang the shit out of it, and they liked it, except they changed "Catch 'em if you can," which was the first tagline, "Catch 'em if you can," to "Gotta catch 'em all," and the rest is history.
Then you recorded it, and then you just went about your business for like a decade or for years, and like you were kind of unknown because it was just your voice, it wasn't your face,
right?
And then when did it start to like really pick up? Because like in the last like 3 or 4 years, you've been doing shitloads of stage work, like you get all over the world and stuff.
Yeah, 2016, Pokemon Go came out, and basically the Pokemon generation had grown up and become adults with disposable income. They were reignited by Pokemon Go on their phones that now existed, that didn't exist in 1998. This nostalgic feeling in them was captured by Niantic and Pokemon Go, and they started spinning the Pokemon theme song on all of the new music platforms that now contained it, and it spiked on all the platforms, and media organizations wanted to know who I was, and I was invited to Comic-Cons, which is a thing that I did not know existed. I was like, Comic-Con, what's that? I went to a Comic-Con and I had masses of fans. I mean, I knew I had an impact over a large swath of the human population through Pokemon and other jingles and stuff that I have done. But I did not know how connected they were to this ecosystem and how much love they would throw back at me for this. How much a part of the brand I had become. And so I just kind of am responding to their requests by going to Comic-Cons, and now I am responding to their requests to sign their Pokemon items. And one of those items that they request me to sign is playing cards, trading cards, because that's the memento that they had from their childhood that now is worth mad cash because of the collectibles world that exploded in 2020. I mean, Pokemon cards have always been valuable relative to the rarity as collectibles are. But in 2020, people were locked inside of their houses. They went and cleaned out their garages and they found their Pokemon cards. They went online with all these new communities and these new tools and these new ways of sharing this value. And the card collecting world really blew up. And that's one of the main things I do is I'm signing autographs on people's cards at card conventions, which is really a bizarre thing. I would never have, anticipated signing fan posters and different things and signing asses and arms and having, that is one thing. But to sign these cards and have the value of a card increase exponentially, sometimes 10, 20% to 50, 500% on some cards that are worth 50 will be worth 250. After an autograph is on it, then it can get graded, authenticated, and be worth even $500, $600. So it's the value of this nostalgia meeting the voice of a generation, as they refer to me now.
When you go when you do these conventions, like how many fucking autographs will you sign on like an autograph at convention day?
Yeah, as many as I can, basically. It depends on the person, how much they want to say, how many they want to get signed. But in an 8-hour, a day is 200. I can handle about 200 people. Dude, sometimes I do bulk signings where they'll send me a couple hundred cards and then I'll send them back to that person and they'll distribute them to their networks. I also sell the cards on my website, jasonpaige.com, where you can buy all kinds of different autographed cards mostly and other items as well.
I was going to say, I really like the key change in the song. Yeah, where like goes fucking fires up.
Gotta catch 'em all! Gotta catch 'em all! Yeah! Yeah, that's my favorite part of the song. I wrote that part. I'm not getting credit for writing, but I wrote.
Oh, you just threw it in?
I threw it in. I mean, I threw a whole bunch of shit in, but I don't get actual writing credit. The song made, in some estimates, $1 billion. Unbelievable.
Wow. And like it's in the remakes and all the sales of the digital.
Exactly. All of the different channels and different places and licensing and all of that.
I got it. For people anyone that's watching now, like the video, subscribe, share this with your friends too. And so on super chats for Jason that we'll be answering at the end, and me if you want to, but I mean, Jason's a man. Dude, when we met, like, I got to say, Jason is like one of the most giving people. I know I'm talking to you directly, but I always felt like very welcome in you had this wonderful apartment. I don't know if you're in the same place with that.
I am.
Like, that studio set up in the main, like in the living room area with like the DJ table. And it's just like,
that's it. I'm right here. It's right here.
Dude, it's pure music. Like we just started rocking and playing together and singing, and all the people like Kai Brackett, Tawny Dally, like just amazing humans. Yeah. Buy it out now.
Yo, I'm on the mic, I'm worshiping Ian Crossland. I'm on the YouTube stream and doing it. Getting all these women with it. Crossland kicking it real time. Worship Crossland. Yeah, I got the looper, and I'm able to do all kinds of things, add effects, and get all kinds of crazy shit going on.
What a party at your house is like you're hanging out. This is like, it's like a rock star party. And then you put on, when we first met, you put on these basically the Beatles Nativity.
Yeah.
So you said you're doing it again now?
Beatles Gospel Nativity is in its 14th year, and you were part of probably the 8th or 9th year, 10th year, maybe 9th year. I'm not really sure. Yeah, 2018ish. Yeah. And yeah, we're going strong. We're at the Broad Stage in Santa Monica, 700 seat, beautiful state of the art theater. It's a Beatles gospel nativity. In case you guys are wondering, it's called Both a Beatles Gospel Nativity, where we take the Beatles music with gospel chorus arrangements, tell the nativity story. It is going to usurp A Christmas Carol as the most done Christmas show around the world at some point.
Did you write it? Or did you?
I wrote all of the gospel arrangements, and I helped construct the script. It was a bare bones script by a friend of mine named Mark Wilson, who did a reading in 1999, and then we did a workshop in 2007. Swapped things around. We added songs almost every year until about 5 years ago. We still add little pieces of Beatles music. Matter of fact, I heard there's a new Beatles song I'm supposed to check out that John Lennon wrote. It's like a lost track that just came out, and we're thinking that we might be able to incorporate that into the show as well.
I think I saw that. I don't know. Remember what the name of the song is?
Yeah, I forgot what it is. New John Lennon track.
That is hot.
Yeah,
dude, you should get
cool.
If you ever get Ringo or Paul to swing by, that'd be the fucking.
I've been in touch with Paul's guitar player and am inviting him to the show. He lives in Santa Monica. He's a friend of mine. I've done some vocals on his records, and hopefully he'll come to the show and he'll go back to his tour with Paul and be like, "Yo, you gotta check this out."
It's such a good feeling to be a part of that. Like, the people I met there are still some of my best friends in the world today. Like, Carrie Reinagle, Desmond Meach.
Oh yeah,
like, dude.
Yeah.
Invited me to the house he was staying at for Christmas. Like, it was like an emergence of my soul being a part and meeting these people. Like, I was like back from the dead, kind of this feeling.
Thank you, dude. Thank you. Oh. Yeah, the whole idea is a community of people that are coming together to expand each other's individual, unique talents and express themselves. It's the miracle baby that saves the world. Each one of us is that miracle. Expressing ourselves as a unique individual, as you are in your work, bro, and it's excellent. I'm really excited to see that as well.
Are you religious? Do you find do you adhere to religion of any kind?
No, but I am believing because of the darkness in the world that there is a definite demonic component and an interdimensional level that is going on that you might want to call spiritual. And I am beginning to interact with it a little bit more in terms of a meditation, in terms of my own spiritual practice, not in an organized religious fashion. Of course, both is the story of Jesus, the nativity, the made up story of the nativity, which didn't get written down until the 12th century, actually. In the form that it is now, so that story is subject to great skepticism. But my own spirituality is evolving through these communal experiences and through the love and the manifestation that I'm sort of grabbing a hold of now in my newer Pokémon branding, so to speak.
Oh, interesting. The more people that know who you are, is it? Because that's what I found. The more people that knew who I was seemed to be empowering my ability to connect with the spirit. Yeah,
I'm seeing it as a manifestation of the energy that I have to give to the world, and the power and the power that's inside. Yeah, the lyric from the song that enables me to touch people, enables me to do good in the world. And against some of these forces of evil that are getting so much attention and energy. And, I used to be an artist, I used to call myself a socio-political, sexual-logical artist, as I would do parodies that would call out corruption and abuses in the world and point out, the ridiculousness of things like circumcision and the pharmaceutical industrial complex and the left-right paradigm and all the political issues that have gained so much traction from and energy from people on social media. And now I don't feel the need to fight that battle anymore. Those battles were just giving more energy to the enemy by being the opposition. And not that I'm not opposed to it, but I'm opposed to it through love in another direction. I'm running that way, building a tribe of love instead of turning and battling the dragon.
Yeah,
I'm running so far from the dragon that the dragon has no power anymore.
I tend to think of it like as a non-Newtonian fluid. The harder you hit it, the more of a solid it is. So if you're slow and hot, you can kind of pass through it, or even use its own momentum to jujitsu it in the direction.
Yes.
I had this experience with dealing with demons at Burning Man. We were talking about Burning Man before, and I know you just went this last year. Do you go every year? Is it
every year? Every year, even when it wasn't there.
I went. Oh, that's hardcore. Way back.
It was excellent. No, even in 2020. Sorry, 2021. They decided not to do it, and I was like, "What? What are you guys? Are you kidding me? Why wouldn't you do Burning Man? Everybody's already in a mask, is radically self-reliant. How are you going to try to take care of them and prevent them from an invisible virus that doesn't exist, especially in the desert where they're already protecting themselves with masks and the most distance you can possibly have because you're in an expansive desert?" So I was like, "No, I'm going anyway." And there was 20,000 people that showed up, and it was an incredible Renegade burn. Amazing anyway. And without the intervention of this, the intervention of the state was different. It wasn't the Burning Man state that intervened. It was the Nevada state that didn't have the funding from the ticket prices to intervene the way that they normally do. So they had no resources to really make the arrests and do all the things that they normally do to a Burning Man community. To the tune of millions of dollars of revenue. So they could only just do petty tickets that they were giving out to people. And most, but we had to obey Nevada rules, which are more expansive than Burning Man rules. So there was more freedom going on in the Renegade burn under actual state law than there is going on in an actual burn under Burning Man law.
Interesting. What was like the most different? Like, how would you say was the most different?
The most different was exemplified in the non-existence of commercial activity allowed on the playa. Number one being the removal of waste from porta potties. United Services was prevented from coming onto the playa to serve anybody's private porta johns. So that meant people had to take care of their own shit, which was the best part of it, was taking care of your own shit and realizing that you're a human being that has this need and that you have outsourced it your whole life, much in the way that you've outsourced your food and your water. But we don't seem to think that we've outsourced our shit to somebody else taking care of it. And of course, at Burning Man, you have the porta potties and they take care of it for you. But when there's no porta potties and you have to do it yourself, that's when you really learn what you are, what you do, and your basic human needs and how to care for that. So what we did, and many people did different things. There's all kinds of different portable porta potties that people do, and they carted out. We built ourselves a incinerator on basically an old Oscar the Grouch garbage can that we built a toilet seat on top of. And we had layers of sawdust and cardboard and sawdust and cardboard and sawdust and cardboard. It did not smell hardly at all. We incinerated, we lit it on fire, and we burned it because we had space. So there was a little bit of smoke, and it burned it away. So we reduced it to a very small amount of ash that we were able to take back. And we had this comfortable like throne of a bathroom that we made. And actually the ash was smoldering at one point. It wasn't smoking, but it was still smoldering. And it gave us a heated toilet seat, which was an incredible experience to have on the playa. So go ahead.
Would people like walk by and be like, "I got to take a dump, man"? And you're like, "Well, we got the space."
We got the space. We did, lend it to people. People were able to visit at ours as well. And we had a curtain around the whole area that was off of the side of one of the RVs. But the main thing was that I didn't have to use the porta potties. I didn't have to outsource my waste to anybody else. It's a leave no trace event, but yet the main trace that you leave as a human being is outsourced. This was just such a cathartic thing, and most of the people there were the self-reliant types that were able to enjoy their own ability to take care of their own shit.
I was just talking on Friday. I talked to James Tour, who's this chemist out of Rice University, and they're using electrical current to turn carbon waste into graphene. That'd be interesting to do as a Burning Man exhibit, to have you take a dump and then hit it with electrical current and get this black powder out of it.
Yeah,
here,
power.
You can use this as building materials later.
The power that's inside.
Yeah, literally.
There
the
it is
potential
again.
energy within you. Did anybody build like a giant car that would drive through with just a giant like porta potties on them, so you could be like, oh, I see, there's one, and you're like, did you see
there has been porta potty art cars before. I've seen them, but they weren't shittable. They were just drivable.
Okay, like you could piss in them but not poop.
No. I'm saying they were just a Halloween costume, basically. They just drove. They didn't actually function. But there are a couple of art cars that do have little outhouses on the back. The back porch, I think, is the name of the car, and they have an outhouse on the back of it that they use. Pretty cool.
There's two things. I guess the reason I brought up Burning Man, I mean, first of all, I wanted to ask you about the last burn where it rained, because some people were like, oh, it was horrifying, but you said it wasn't like that. What was
No, it was incredible. It was incredible. I mean, you just have to stay local. You figure out what kind of socks and plastic bags to put on your feet to be able to walk and not suck up so much dirt on your shoe that you can't lift it anymore. But the parties were local. Everybody just kind of stayed where they were instead of journeying way across the playa everywhere, and waited till the rain dried. And that was just, 2 extra days. I think it was 2 to 3 extra days, which we got to spend there and have more, abundance and joy and giving and gifting and all that stuff, just making sure that we rationed our food accordingly. But a lot of people jumped ship and they ran out and that is what caused the problem, because you can't drive on it. So the desperate people, the people who were freaking out had the most problems. The people that just chilled and stayed calm and had parties had the most fun.
The man normally gets burned on Saturday, and then the temple on Sunday. Did that get pushed back?
Yeah, it got pushed back till Monday night, I think.
Cool.
Monday night they burned the man, and Tuesday they burned the temple, and everybody got out Wednesday. And what was really incredible is that obviously people were building all kinds of amazing mud sculptures all over the place that you would find. But the playa after the dry was so smooth and drivable that it made those last 2 days just the easiest commute anywhere. It was amazing how like the rain is the great equalizer of all the activity that normally rips up the playa. It's like I almost want it to rain every year, Wednesday and Thursday, so that we can have Friday and Saturday smooth. It was incredible.
I was just looking at how they're finding like ancient civilizations underwater. I mean, talk about the great equalizer. Greece, dude. The reason I brought up Burning Man is because you were talking about spiritual warfare. And while I was there, I was taking mushrooms like every day, consistently. I'd go back to the camp. We had a big bag, and I just continuously be on this psilocybin trip, and laying in a hammock. And I was like, I was thinking words instead of saying them. I started like, I've told this story before, so people may already know it, but I was like, in my head, I was like, speak to me, demon, speak to me. And it was like, oh, the playa, there's all these different musics going, like 60,000 different songs at once, creating this one mega song. And out of this vibration came this voice. It was like, like talking to me when I summoned this demon or whatever the fuck it was. And it went on for like 20 or 30 seconds. And I started to kind of panic. And I was like, don't be afraid, Ian. You've gotten to this point by being brave and speaking your mind. Just listen to this thing. So I continued to listen to it, and then it took on a conversational tone, and I realized it just wanted to be accepted. And a lot of the anger and fear in society is like, it wants to be understood. And if you immediately snap to pushing back, like, no, get away, no, bad, that's the evil. And if you're willing to like allow yourself to understand and perceive it, it just takes on a sort of neutral essence. And that's kind of what I think the spiritual war is. It's why I don't push back so hard on the left and the right and the authoritarians. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to sit by with my head in the sand while people stomp out other humans. I'm not willing to do that. But at the same time, I'm not going to panic.
Everybody's right. Everybody's right. Even the demon is right. He's a demon because something happened to him. Something moved him to be demonic. Him, her, however the demon identifies. But that demon is a response to something else that happened, and maybe it was the randomness of nature, the uncontrollable volcano that just destroyed his city. And now his soul, his energy, his anxiety has never been able to accept the loss of his entire town. When he went for a walk up in the hills and came back and everyone was dead. And now that anxiety was just a natural cause, you know? I'm not sure where the original demonic entity comes from, but I know when you're dealing with the demons on the planet that are literally moved to kill each other, the armies that are activated to this, whether they're activated it through pride or through hate or through love of country. I mean, there's so many different ways that you can get people to bayonet babies, you know, but they're doing it.
I think a lot of it, well, some of it comes from hunger and the fear of being hungry and starving to death. Like, we are these spiritual beings, but we're also base animal. And if a group of people are like, we ran out of food. Oh, here, I'm going to bring you back. If someone's like, we ran out of food, now we need to go get their food. They are food. Those humans, we can eat them. And so this demonic destruction comes from like people attempting to acquire resources. And that is one I don't know how to spiritually combat, because I'm speaking about a lot of this from like the luxury of having enough food. I've never gone a day without having any food or access to any food.
Well, this is an interesting topic, but it goes into fasting. Have you done any fasting?
Yeah. I did 24-hour fast. That's the most I've ever done. It was like 36 hours.
Yeah, well, I was doing 5 days a month, 3 to 5 days a month, depending on how I felt and what was going on in my active life at the time. But it made me realize that I need 20% less food than I'm eating, basically. Or even less than that, really. And that in our abundant world, we are just inundated with this excess food. But obviously, we're built to be able to go these long periods without eating, to preserve ourselves. But I don't know, when it gets desperate after 5 days, when it's going to start to happen. I mean, I think it's 30 days that the average healthy male can actually go without food, not without water though. So certainly resource scarcity is going to get people at each other's throats, and fear of that. But that's archaic. We are now in an abundant world. I went and I collected this water on my own. I know it says Mountain Valley. It's what I drink when I am not able to go. But I've got a whole bunch of these bottles and I bring them to Falling Springs, Azusa, and I collect my own mountain spring water that pours out of the earth at an endless rate. And we know that primary water has existed since, written history. We've got hot springs written about and rivers and places in the desert where there's not supposed to be any water that still exists, that existed thousands of years ago, that are still pumping out water. So we know that there's no water scarcity. There's perhaps scarcity in certain areas and the ability to bring that water there, but it exists and we can go get it. And if there's not water scarcity, then there shouldn't be food scarcity anymore. There's scarcity of knowledge and insight, and that is the real. There's truth scarcity. I think that's the real scarcity that gets people at each other's throats.
Yeah, I was in 2007. I'm like, I want to bring internet to everyone on Earth, because that's the knowledge of how to grow your own food, how to cover, like, tarp your lawn so that it collects moisture at night, and then you can grow crops during the day, even in super hot desert environments. And then So then Elon did it with Starlink, or at least he's stepping on the gas and putting Starlink out there, and then fresh water. But you can kind of collect water from the moisture. But
yeah, you don't even need to go to the spring. That's not the primary water. That's the secondary water. It might have some contaminants from the environment, obviously, but you can also filter it and do things to it to revive it, because that water has memory and it has power. You just gotta remove the toxins, remove the impurities, spin it around like I do. Get the vortex going right in there, and charges the water back up, restructures it, and gives it the energy that it needs to be the powerful addition to my own water structuring device that I am.
I've seen you collect the water. I think it was on video. Maybe it was on a Facebook or Instagram video, and you were like, it was like the side of a mountain. You like pulled your car over, and we're just getting this delicious looking, and you're like the joy that was coming out of you while it was pouring into your collection devices.
Yeah, it's excellent. It's excellent. I get it in the bottles, but I also get it in 5-gallon plastic bottles as well, stored in the garage, and it then lasts me, until it's gone. So I've even started showering with it, because at Burning Man, you just put that shower thing into a bottle of water, and in our makeshift showers at Burning Man, and I was like, I could do this at home. I don't have to shower with the crazy LA water. Recently, I did a distillation experiment. I distilled this water and collected the remains at the bottom of the distiller. It's white powder, potassium, magnesium, calcium, I'm sure, a couple of other things that you expect to see. I didn't have it sent to a lab and analyzed, but it's white powder, and it's what those elements are expected to look like after distillation. The tap water in LA was an orangey color, just like a thick orangey type color. That was,
like rust?
It could be many different things that I want to send out, but we know from, many different water analysis sites that there's all kinds of stuff, pharmaceuticals and chemicals galore, and impurities in our water here.
I was getting that. I lived on Wilshire Boulevard for a while and had my shower was just getting this orange ring around the drain. And I didn't know if it was copper. I just guessed copper, iron.
Probably iron. Yeah, it could be a whole bunch of things, but yeah.
And that's just going right through your skin. So I got a shower filter for sure. And then that thing was turning orange too.
Yep.
That's so what did you get through fasting, dude?
I got my addiction to food cured, and just the idea that we're all kind of addicted to food, that we're in a culture that's addicted to food, that there's food everywhere, and that the amount of time and energy and effort that we spend on it physically, that we do to work for the money that we takes to pay for the food, the time and energy that we spend digesting it, that food is basically the enemy. We need very little food. We only need basic nutrients, and those are micronutrients, and we can get them from a few sources. I think microgreens and grass-fed, grass-finished, or wild game, I think probably is the most, the single thing that you could eat and sustain your health, sustain yourself with. Anything else that you eat as a single item, you will soon be deficient in many things. So yeah, it was just time and energy, and that I saved, and I had all of this extra energy in my body because it wasn't spent on the digestive process, on the excretion process, and on the working process to pay for the food. So there were just all these elements, and the time cleaning, the time preparing, and of course there's a great amount of pleasure to that, but we have to balance that, like how much is pleasure and how much is distraction, and how much is actually necessary. And of course then you have to look at all of the bad things in food that are the source of your diseases, most of the disease, or the discomfort, I should say. Diseases are a little bit of a questionable thing.
Dis-ease, it's the opposite of ease.
Right. I mean, a diagnosis. Diagnosis is more dangerous than the idea of a disease. It's like this one thing that you got a disease. No, you got dis-ease from your story, and your story involves you putting all kinds of stuff in your body that you don't even know where it came from or what it is or how to pronounce it. Matter of fact, I'm wearing it right now. Don't wear a shirt if you haven't washed it. It's got all kinds of fibers, and there's like a thing that's going on now. It's called a fashion detox, where you can examine the materials that your clothing is made of, where it came from, the bleaches used to create it, the dyes that are sitting on your body. A couple of months ago, I was wearing this blue shirt, and 2 or 3 days of wearing blue shirts. I was like, oh, this blue looks really nice to me. And I wore the blue shirt for the second day. Then I wore another blue shirt for the third day, and I was out sweating and doing all kinds of things. I took a shower, and after the shower, my skin, it was a long sleeve shirt, started to turn blue. My body had absorbed, and my skin was fluffing off after the shower. It took that hot shower to sort of kill the outer layer of my skin, and started to shed, basically. But before it shed, it turned blue. It like sucked all of the blue dye, because I wasn't blue before I got in the shower. I was blue after I got out of the shower. I was literally blue. It was crazy. It was like I was the Smurf. I thought I had that disease that where you have too much mercury or something in your body, your skin turns blue. But I started rubbing it, and I was like, oh, it's coming off. It's coming off. But interestingly, it wasn't there before the shower. So my body had absorbed this blue dye that was in these shirts, and then it excreted it through the skin that was coming off of me afterwards. And I was like, all right, now from that point on, and I dunked these shirts into a bucket, and to see how much dye I could get out of them still. And there was blue in the water. So these dyes are on our clothing, and they're being absorbed into our body, the skin, the most, the biggest organ on the body. So anyway, all these toxins are part of our environment, and that's the story that creates the dis-ease, in addition to the food that we are consciously putting into ourselves all day long.
I think about it with soap too. Soap, shampoo, and toothpaste. Those are like
all of it
right into the bloodstream.
Yes, directly. Yeah, I'm not a fan of any of those things. I'm a flosser, not a toothpaster. And if the toothpaste is just like a baking soda or an oil, coconut oil is a good thing to do. Swishing pulls out the toxins, and we're in a constant battle with toxins that we can't see. And I talk about the invisible virus. Like, obviously, I don't know if you're aware of the whole virus challenge and the virus debate of virology and its sort of faulty legs that it stands on how it proves what a virus is. But it's an invisible particle that has not really been shown through scientific methods to be in existence. Basically, it's an assumption. And so, but what is not an assumption and invisible is the EMFs flying through the air. What's not an assumption is the air quality, even though I can't see it. I know it's there because I can change my air conditioner filter and know that I'm breathing the same air that air conditioner is sucking in and out. So there's a lot of invisible toxins that we're not getting, that we're not aware of. The invisible toxins of the shirt, the invisible toxins of the air, the invisible toxins in the water, and of course your foods as well.
When it comes to like disease theory, there's like germ theory, which is still a theory, the germ theory, and then there's terrain theory. And I think that they both have some validity. Seemingly, they're both theories, but like the germ theory is that a particle, whether it's like a viral particle or a bacteria or whatever, a fungus, will fly through the air, land on you, and then start to duplicate. Right. And then the terrain theory is those particles are already in you anyway. And if your body is in a position to kill it, it'll kill it off and you won't get sick from it. But if your body is not in a good state, it will multiply and make you ill. And I kind of think it makes sense that is both true. Like the thing can still multiply, like cells divide, viruses can replicate, but that if your terrain is abundant or able, it'll just wipe it out. Like, and so you don't get sick. That's why you see somebody get sick and then the guy right next to him that sits in the same room doesn't get sick from the same thing.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Well, the cell is also a theory, the way that the cell works. Many of our body's organs are not cells. They're groups of organized water, like our eyeballs. So we don't have eyeball cells. We have skin cells. They fluff off. And in our blood, it's not all, we have red blood cells and white blood cells, but they're not cells dividing. They're just these things inside that do a certain thing. They don't like divide and make more. They go and they do things. They bring things around. And the bacteria are there to help us. They're not, we all have, it's pleomorphism. We all have the ability to create all these different types of bacteria that already exist on us. So when they find it on us, it's and they say, oh, it's because of that. It's not, because they can find it on us when we're not sick as well. But yeah,
I thought white blood cells divided.
Do white blood cells divide? I don't think so. I think you make them.
We need to get a chemist or a biologist in here to talk. Leukocytes, unlike nucleated independently motive. Let me pull this up. White blood cells, also known as, this is why I love the internet. Let me see here. Leukocytes are white blood cells, unlike red or nucleated and independently motile. Man, I just don't know enough about these. Oh, they do not undergo cell division. Yeah, you're right. White blood cells do not divide. That's awesome. Yeah, so it's like, what is a cell? The word kind of is a general term.
There are some theories, and the way that this cell, works and divides and transfers what it needs to get from the outside of the cell to the inside of the cell, and then it supposedly has this genetic code inside of it that it is then transferring to another cell, and that got to go out through a tube and keep that cell intact. But the other one, we do see, when you have an egg and you see the sperm, they're filming it. They're like watching it. There's just very little like active analysis of what's going on in a living system. It's all taking it out of the system, looking at it under a microscope, staining it with dyes. Science is not really in the body. It's going to be really cool when they can start to just look at your cells as they're acting in your body, not outside in a foreign environment. It's like, how do you look at the frog? You got to kill the frog and then dissect the frog. Well, now you're looking at a dead frog. So everything in it doesn't have the life force and energy, and not moving the same way as it would if it was alive. So all of science is that way.
You're making me think of like VR, and like then I started to think, I just got to ask you straight up, dude, are you gonna like put your brain in the metaverse? Like, are you going into the neural net?
In some ways, I think that's a great thing. I don't want it to take over my agency, but I do think that we can be supernatural. We don't have to just be natural. We can be improved. You can get a pin in your arm that's like titanium or some kind of crazy metal that will enable your arm to work better again, if you damage it. So there's something to the ability to increase your brain's flow somehow. I don't know how they're going to do it. But I think the first step is to get contact lenses that are giving us all the information that we get online, and to beam us into a metaverse through our contact lenses.
Yeah, some augmented system. I like that better than plugging in, literally wiring my brain. That feels a little too intrusive.
Yeah, I don't really think it's the brain. I think that our brain is a receiver and processor. It's not where the information is stored. I think that the information is stored in a more Rupert Sheldrake type way. You know who he is?
I've heard the name. Tell me about it.
Well, he's got it's a fields. There are fields that are out there, and we're just like the radio receiving the fields.
Morphogenetic field, is that what he calls it?
Yes. It's a morphogenetic field that is it's somewhere non-local, so that you can tap into it, and that all living things tap into it to know what they're supposed to be, and that's where the genetic, that's sort of what the cell is. It has a nucleus and it's a cell, and it kind of morphic resonance is what he calls it. It kind of it's the antenna to receive the signal, which is how, you know, he does the experiment with dogs. The dog can receive the signal of the owner deciding to go home every single time. In every single scenario, the dog will then know the owner's on his way home, and the dog will go to the window more times once the owner decides. Before the owner decides to come home, the dog will not go to the window. So these it's sort of psychic sort of experiences that a dog is having with the owner, who is transmitting the fact that he's going home miles and miles away at different random times that are not controlled. So the dog isn't smelling it. He's not used to it. It's all kind of, you know, this study has been done many, many times, and it always works. It just says that there's a field that we are interacting with, that dogs are interacting with. And I think that our field, that the field around us, we're just antennas for this field. So if we're going to plug into the metaverse, we have to plug into some other field. The way that we're plugging into the field of this wireless signal that's enabling my phone to, you know, to work with you right now. It's a field. It's in the air. It's an invisible field. We know it's there. It's being broadcast. It's being received. But the phone is the antenna. Some way our bodies, our brains are that antenna and that processing. Maybe our water is the antenna and the brain is just the processing, the chip.
The water itself?
The water itself is the antenna and has the energy and has the memory. Have you seen these water experiments where they put the water? I've actually done it myself. Her name is Veda Austin. She puts water in a dish, and then she puts the dish next to something. Veda Austin. She puts the dish next to something, and then the water in the freezer, after a few minutes, takes on the visual shape of whatever she's intended what she put the water next to. She puts it next to a picture of a unicorn, and in the ice crystal is a unicorn. She puts it next to a photo of a woman with braids. The water in ice crystal form will then show the braids. It is an incredible thing. So the water is holding this memory and this intentionality. There you go. The water holds the intentionality of what she's asking it to do, which is sometimes she asks it to, the number 4 in the water.
Wrote the number 4 on a piece of paper and placed the Petri dish on top of it for 30 seconds pre-freezing. I don't know if there's more.
Yes. And then it'll have a photo. There's an ice crystal. Right. There you go. So the water knows what you're asking it to do. It's sort of its own consciousness. So it may be that water is God. Water is consciousness. That water is responding, and that, of course, we are made of water. When we die, we become dehydrated. All the water leaves our body. Look at that. That's a response to that photo.
Yeah. We were talking about like cymatics, and this is where vibration causes matter to change shape,
right?
And about how life can form in a tide pool, if the vibration can cause the cells or the amino acids to kind of maneuver in different patterns, and maybe it's the water is like just such a catalyst or a conductor for vibration that it hyper accelerates the formation.
Right. The water is organizing it all. The water is in the clouds. The water is in our humidity. The water is the medium through which all of our EMFs are traveling through which are the field from the owner to the dog is traveling through the medium of water in the atmosphere. We are water, so it's just we're all this water beings interacting in this universe of water. This world of water.
To look at what I'm looking at, it's at VedaAustin.com. It's VEDA Austin, AUSTIN.com. This is her work. I can't confirm that it's real, but I mean, I'm just looking at pictures right now, but this is freaking phenomenal to witness. If I mean, that number 4 is like,
oh my God, it's exact.
do you know this woman? Have you talked to her?
I've seen numbers of her videos. I've seen her do this. She teaches it. I've done it myself with water in my own freezer. I have one thing I did with this water was incredible. I put it next to the Analima water wand, which is a structured water, a wand of structured water that has been put through a whole bunch of energy cycles and moon cycles. They do a whole bunch of things to this Analima water wand. You take the water wand and you spin it around inside of another container of water to help transfer the structure of the water in that wand into another container of water to basically improve the structure of your water, to give your water the charge and energy that then you drink, and now it has these abilities to perform all of the things that the water that you drink needs to perform in your body, which is to inform everything and to be part of you, basically. So the Analima water wand is next to the petri dish of water that I'm about to freeze and see what's going on. It literally shot straight and at an angle like this. It was like kind of set off at a not straight up, but 10 degrees off to the left. The petri dish had I've never seen this. I mean, I can't even believe it happened. Just a straight up, it just came straight up out of the water, like a figure grew straight up out of the water, like a piece.
Explain this. So you have a water wand. I'm looking at it right now. The Melina, is it Melina?
Analima, the Analima water wand.
Analima. Yeah. Let me see this.
So it just basically recognized that I was next to the wand. The intention was, I'm putting you next to this wand, and then I'm putting you in the refrigerator, and you see what happens. And it basically made a wand that popped out of the ice crystal.
What is the wand? What's in the wand? Is it water itself?
Yes, it's wand. It's water that has been treated into a structuring process that is very comprehensive. They do all kinds of things to it. They probably send sound into it. They treat it to different cycles of the Earth and the Moon and the Sun, I believe. And then they encapsulate it, and then they do lots of tests on it, on the water that they use when they spin this water.
What's that?
Yeah, there's just a lot of science behind it. They'll water plants with it, and they do that. The what's it called? A Kirlian photography, I think it's called, where they photograph the light in an object. Kirlian, I think it's called Kirlian photography. So you basically take a plant and you photograph it, and then you take a plant that's grown with this water, and it has way more light than the other plant. So they can measure the light that is emitted through these ways and they can see that the growth of the produce that they create with the Analima water wand is very much higher. We know this. Farmers know this. They use different types of water for different outcomes for their crops.
There's a thing called sympathetic resonance or sympathetic vibration, where crystals that vibrate will cause other crystals nearby to start to vibrate in the same pattern.
Yeah.
And I wonder if water, I don't know if I can go so far as to say ice freezes in a crystalline pattern. I don't know if it's necessarily crystalline, but there may be some sort of sympathetic resonance between water sources as well.
I think absolutely. That's how you purify a water source, is by introducing it to other purified water.
And I had this I pulled up, which is constantly fascinating. It's called ephaptic coupling. This is where neurons in a brain will communicate with other neurons, not chemically from like synapse to synapse, but through local magnetic fields. Yep. One neuron will send. And so you're talking about like Rupert Sheldrake's, morphogenetic
morphic resonance. Yeah.
And this, I think, I really need to find a better explanation than the Wikipedia, because I keep pulling it up, showing a bunch of text, and then closing it. So I think for future shows, I'll have more. But this is like absolute, like if they're not psychic forms of psychic phenomenon. I mean, this is like, yo, this is actual science. Like,
Yeah.
that brains can communicate like this. I wanted to pull up some chats and throw in your super chats.
Yeah, let's do it.
For me and Jason. I haven't been reading along, but some people have been throwing in chats, and a lot of these I think are about Pokemon. A lot of Pokemon fans in the audience.
Absolutely.
Full disclosure, man, I never got into Pokemon. I was like 18 when Pokemon got popular. Like 17, I was already playing Magic the Gathering, so I didn't really play.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the number 2. That's number 2.
Magic or Pokemon?
Yeah, Magic is number 2 to Pokemon. We have some Magic openings. I actually opened up a Magic pack that was that had like a $250,000 card potentially in it. Those things are huge.
This is
what's up?
D-Man Dork. Too many good ones. Who's your favorite Pokemon?
I don't have favorites. I have experiences. As you know, favorites are a way to limit your nutrient density. You know, if you eat one food, you only get that food. It's not good. You know, all Pokemon are valuable.
What about Diglett? I'm a big fan.
Diglett. Yeah, he's
the guys
nice.
That poke up out of the ground.
Yeah, the Doug trio.
I think that Charizard is like the most valuable Pokemon card. Is that true?
Yes, the Charizard was the most valuable card back in the day. It was used, you know, you need it in your deck in order to win, basically. And that's why it was so popular back in the day and rare. And because everybody wanted to get that in their deck.
Here, Courtney Demby says, we're saying favorite Pokemon. Oh, sweet. Mine's always been Charmander. First card I found on the ground in school back in like 97. Pretty wicked.
Yeah.
Another Charizard.
Yes. People like the Charizard.
I wish I knew more about it. I'm like a huge Magic the Gathering aficionado. We played so hard, like for 20 years.
Yeah. Well, it's a way that everybody individually and uniquely catches Pokemon, and the game allows you to have your own strategies, game theory. I mean, it's basically critical thinking that it empowers. It also empowers. I mean, I got kids that are saying they learn to speak. They learn to speak from the Pokemon theme song. They learn to math from the cards. They learn reading and writing because of their interest in the cards. So and of course game theory and critical thinking, you know, and monetary policy, because now they've got these collectibles that have money that are worth something. So they're learning trading and business skills, you know. It's really incredible what you can learn.
Same with Magic, the amount of math, memorization of cards and card combinations, and then possibly like potential I guess you would say like operations and like what are they called? Contingencies of like, I have 60 possibilities, and then this means there's a 2% chance that this combination is going to fly. And then this one's, I like this. I get more into the science as soon as mainstream. This is from Mr. Bill's based intelligent libertarian Sigma male. That's a cool name. Nice. As soon as mainstream science starts taking spiritual science seriously, we'll advance tremendously as a civilization.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so too. The scientific method is not the only kind of science just because it has the word scientific in it. It's just one way to look at like disproving your own concept, but like miracles or like the placebo effect, things that happen and then aren't necessarily repeated every time doesn't mean that they don't happen and that they aren't part of a greater pattern.
Of course. And the nocebo effect as well. But yeah, many different types of science.
What's
it's the negative, the negative effects. I tell you that, you know, you're taking chemotherapy and you're just getting saline, but yet your hair falls out because you believe that that's one of the things that happens.
Oh yeah. Stress.
Yeah.
It's for sure. I mean, stress and being carefree and happy are like two of the most powerful forces on your body.
Yeah.
Would you do like yoga, meditation? Do you do a lot of stretching?
I do the Tibetan 5 every morning.
What's that?
Which is 5 stretching exercises. They're just light yoga. It's kind of like a downward dog, breathing in and out. There's like lying on the ground, like leg raises, spinning around is the first one, leg raises the second one. The third one is just kind of stretching up and down, like that. The fourth one is kind of like a back bend, and the fifth one is a downward dog, and that's it. While meditating on a jam, the first thing I do in the morning is I go, abundance, gratitude, is love. Abundance, gratitude, is love. Abundance, gratitude, is love. Abundance, gratitude, is love. Abundance. Get a thing like that going, and then I just do these exercises. I think about the abundance of our environment and the universe, all the things that there are, that nature creates in abundance, and then mankind's abundance, all of the things that human beings have made, the house, the trees that went into the floor, the lights, the electricity flowing through the wires, the light bulbs, every human being that made every single thing and created that is not nature. And then I give gratitude for it, and I focus on my health, the fact that my body is this miracle thing, and then I focus on the love that I can get and give in the world through my efforts and energy, and then I do these stretches, and then I proceed with my day.
It's pretty peaceful. One of the stretches I've been doing is laying on the bed. I'm gonna go do this after the show. I lay on the bed and then drop my head off the side of the bed like this.
Yeah.
Just hang, because I think a lot of modern culture is us sitting and bending forward, looking at either a phone or at a computer screen.
Right.
And
Right.
like the neck is like, a lot of necks are kind of like, without even thinking about it, like kind of sticking forward. So like
Yeah.
to break it back, and like this whole area, like kind of, oh, it hurts so good, like to do that. And oh man, yes. And then I like let my shoulders out, and like there was once when it like popped back, and that was like, I want to reproduce that, but I don't know if it needs to, you can't, not just going to pop it every time. Like it probably only needs to drop back into position once.
Yeah. That is one of the Tibetan 5. That's the fourth one, is that, you can go from sitting to this.
Forward. That's
Cool.
so nice. We got a super chat in here from Ferry On.
Very
Ian,
on.
you look into Akasha-centric religions. Everyone is part of God and or can build up to be God. Jason, any reason I cannot get to like higher than 2 gen? How often does that happen?
2 gen. Second generation. I think you should be able to get to 2 gen. I think he's talking about Pokemon.
What does that mean? I don't understand, Ferry.
2 gen? I think he's saying 2 second generation Pokemon.
I'm not familiar.
Higher, like the second generation. I don't know. The second generation Pokemon are not the first generation Pokemon. They're the crazier ones that were created. I'm not sure.
They evolve. I know Pokemon go to level 1, level 2, level 3.
Yeah, he doesn't like them.
No,
maybe.
I haven't looked into Akasha-centric religions. Or do you know anything about those?
No, I don't. But that's interesting. I will.
Akasha. Everyone's part of God or can build up. Yeah, I do believe everyone's part of God. Like when I say I am God, it's that like I am fingers, I am eyeballs, I am Ian, but like I am God, but I'm also like part of God. I'm not the only thing that is God. I'm like it's all God, sort of.
Yep.
When I say that, and I think that can be misinterpreted. What's that?
Water being God, then yeah, we're all part of this God that is water.
Check it out, Rockstar Podcast. If there's magic on the planet, is it contained in water?
Yeah.
Oh, it is. You're saying this is a statement.
Yeah.
If there is magic on this planet, it is contained in water. Magic being magnetic.
Yeah.
Water is highly susceptible to like iron oxide, which is, one of the basics of why our bodies produce magnetic fields, and the magnetism that comes out of iron is what they call in the ocean, the iron fertilization of the ocean, where you introduce iron oxide dust into the water. It creates food for plankton. It actually is the basis of life in our oceans is water and iron. And maybe that's the real magic. Is the
that may be it? Yeah, these elements. It's the water interacting with the primary elements.
I think we're about done, my man.
We're very close.
We've been crushing it for an hour.
What's your general timeline on this? How often do you go this long?
I usually go for about an hour, Monday to Thursday, 2 p.m. and then Friday, 3:30 p.m. Go for 1 hour, and then I go and I'm gonna go in a sauna. I'm actually gonna go shoot a movie right now. We're about to.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, we're doing a skit that actually has to do with virtual reality that'll be out on Cast Castle. I think probably next week. Yeah, I'm excited.
Nice. Dude, that's excellent. Yeah, this has been excellent, man. I'm really glad to explore all these other topics and not just be talking about Pokemon. But Pokemon is integrated into it all, because it really inspires the individual to be the very best, like no one ever was.
And also, it's like the 3-dimensional sustenance that allow us to explore the further psychedelic and spiritual things. Like for you, your career is based around in part Pokemon and the love and joy that comes from that, where I'm working in like politics and the exploring the divisiveness and working through, which allows me to do things like meditate in peaceful bliss and spirituality. And that's that duality. Some people clean up trash, some people teach people for a living. Everybody's got their hominid experience.
Yeah,
underneath and on top of.
Yes, underneath and on top. Underneath and on top of. Underneath and on top of.
Yeah.
Underneath and on top of. 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 We're all underneath and on top of something going somewhere. We're all incredible beings there. So much we can do, so much to explore in the street by that's what we're doing on top of. Underneath and on top of. Underneath and on top of. Underneath and on top of.
Yo, where can people find you, man?
Yo,
I'm at
JasonPage.com, you guys. JP.com, JasonPage.com, not JP.com. And on the Instagram, I'm at Jason Paige. On the Twitter, I'm at the X, I'm on Jason Paige Show. I'm on the YouTube at Jason Paige. I'm on the Facebook at Jason Paige as well. That's Paige. You can get my new mystery pop if anybody wants to get the new mystery pop. That's the new product that's out right now. I'll be in Europe next week. I'm going to the Netherlands for Dutch Comic-Con. And then right after that, I'm going to Bonn, Germany for Anycon Germany. And then I'll be back to Stuttgart Comic-Con. Spending a lot of time in Germany these days.
What was that third one?
Stuttgart Comic-Con.
Oh, fucking sweet.
In the meantime, just check me out on my socials. All kinds of fun stuff happening, like this interview right here, which I'll be sharing as well.
Man, it's so good to see you, dude. We got to do this again.
You too, dude. And if you're in town in LA for the Beatles Gospel Nativity, both is happening again. And thank you for your contribution to it. Your energy was divine in it. So.
It changed my life, man. I'm so happy. I really appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, like the video, subscribe to the channel, follow. We'll be back tomorrow, 2 p.m. with another interview. And I'll see you then.
Worship Crossland. Worship Crossland. Worship Crossland.